Hello, and we are live, and welcome to Movie Crap Live. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and this is Movie Crap Live. Sorry my voice sounds a little hoarse. I went out with someone the other night, and bars are loud. Did you guys know that? I don't know. But I had a good time, so that was good. But I hope you're all doing... Ooh, with a jetpack. What's that about? Do I sound okay? Hello. Oh, there I am. Hold on, let me send out the tweet. There we go. Pin in that shit. Pin. Small operation here. Okay, hello, Sinram. Hello, Adrian. It sounds like you're having a good time tonight. Alex, how's it going? Or Punk Guy 95. Cornbread Nathaniel Foga. Zane Power. Sunspot Mill. A guy named Crystal. Major Mekazawa. The Rocket Lobax. Sleepy Time 4Cat Productions. Austin again, why not? Paige Howard, if I didn't say Austin already. If I didn't, whatever. And Halissa Poppin, Jordan Salafalo, Paige Howard. I think that's everyone. I think we're good. But anyway, I guess I should... Oh, hello, Zodberg. I guess I should switch to... I ate Popeye's chicken. Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah, it is kind of overhyped. My Leonard Cohen's album? That's interesting. I'm doing a radio voiceover. Sure. Oh, hello, TuneJ723. All right, I should just switch to the camera. Let's do the fade. Look at that. Hello, everyone. How is it going to this Saturday, May 15th, if you needed to know. But yeah, my voice is a little hoarse. Sorry about that. It's not too bad. Everyone says it sounds cool, so at least it sounds cool. You know, that's good. But anyway. Yeah, let me think. Not too much going on this past week. Yuda best. Thank you, Nanbox64. First super chat. NPR reel. I like that. First super chat with Nanbox64. Cheers to you. Nothing too crazy. Going on this week. Oh. Apparently the biker gangs are out. Jim, I died this week, but but now we're here. Oh, I had an eventful week, it sounds like Disco Spire. But Austin has a very generous super chat coming out the gate. Austin said, had a horrible week. I'm really sorry about that. First off, I hope you're doing okay, Austin. Had a horrible week, my wisdom teeth out, but your show always makes me happy, and hopefully soon I can eat solid food and finish the podcast we did together. I hope that is a really good podcast that Austin and I did. I'm really excited for that to come out, actually. It's like one of my better interviews I think I've ever done. But I hope you're feeling better. Wisdom teeth is rough. So I'm really sorry about that, Austin. So everyone in the chat, give a W. That's a win, right? That's what that means for Austin in the chat. But cheers to you, Austin. Thank you for the generous super chat. I hope you're feeling better. Yeah, I don't think... Oh, I had a new Spyscape debrief came out. For Anthony Horowitz. For anyone who's English might know Alex Rider. I don't know if you do, but if you do, I worked very hard on that one. Saber had a video come out, which I had like a bit to do with, but not too much. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I had my wisdom teeth came out. I'll tell you a wisdom teeth story, Austin, to make you feel better, and then I'll say all the other stuff I'm gonna say. So when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, first off, it was this doesn't age too well, but I had just gotten a bunch of Buffy the Vampire Slayer box sets. That was most of my wisdom teeth experience. So apologies to everyone for that. I didn't know in 2002, and I got them all 4 out at once, which is intense. But you were supposed to put like tea bags on where the wisdom teeth were, and we were watching a movie, and I kept saying like it kind of makes tea in my mouth, so I have to like have a cup to like spit out like this tea that was helping clear it up or something. I forget the reason. And then at one point I went like, I think there's a problem. And they're like, no, you'll be fine. I was like, no, it's like a problem. You need to get out of the way right now. And like my family wouldn't, and I just found like whatever glass was there and went like all this tea just went bleh. over the, and I also think I bled all over one of my pillows. It was an event that was like the first day. It got better after that, but the first day, I was pretty fucked up. Anyway, who graduated? Who graduated? I'm confused about that. Well, whoever graduated, congratulations. I missed that, I think. Oh, Sunspot Mill, congratulations for graduating. I was wondering who that was. Yes. Okay. So, announcements, I guess. First off, there is not going to be a show next Saturday. There'll be videos throughout the week. But there's a lot of family stuff going on next weekend, and I was just like, I was thinking, oh, I could do a shorter show, and I could do this, and I was like, or I could not do a show because doing a shitty show is not worth it to me. I don't want to do like a half-ass show. So there will be another Movie Crap Live in 2 weeks, but it will not be next week. So if that is, anyway. The other things is, so I'm doing 2 segments tonight. One is the history of the MTV Movie Awards Best New Filmmaker, which I wanted to do for a while, and the first pilot of the Rugrats. I was going to do, and what I've been saying, and I think I've said it on Twitter, and I may have said it on here, is obviously I like Denzel Curry, and I like that album he came out with, Unlocked. I did finally get it. Amazon 9. I actually have to return the Lana Del Rey, but I have that album. But so I was going to review that music video, and when I was looking up the music video, I found out it's actually part of a whole movie for the album that's like a half hour. So I'm going to do a separate, not a movie crap segment, like a different video on that. So I am actually going to do that. I think it'll not be next week, but the week after. But yeah, in researching that video, I was like, oh, why didn't I know that? I kept seeing the separate videos, and anyway, so that is what's going on there. Jim, say my name, My Blue Yoshi. There we go. Unless your name's something else. If it's something else. Jim, give me the Lana Del Rey. Why do you want, Zane Powers, why do you want the Lana Del Rey album? That's what I don't understand. Do you like Lana Del Rey? Male Tears, I've had a new mic for a little bit. This is just my voice is a little hoarse today, but that's all. Unlocked is really good, and I really like it. So I also am I don't get to listen to, I used to really know what was going on in hip hop in from about the mid 2000s till about 2012. I seriously remember, and this is gonna make me sound lame now, but I actually remember when the first Drake mixtape dropped. It was a Super Bowl weekend, and more people were like, why is the kid from Degrassi putting out a mixtape that's a reference to an Economist cover? And that started buzz, because everyone was like, the fuck is this? It was just weird. And even Wiz Khalifa was way cooler on mixtapes than he is in real life. But anyway, I know you're not here for me to talk about how I used to listen to hip hop. I think that's all the announcements. Nothing too crazy. Oh, the Bluey thing. I will say the thing about the Bluey stuff on Twitter, I found interesting that people are mentioning that, but that's kind of why parents like watching Bluey with kids, because it's very healthy and educational. And I like the Big Girl Bark stuff. For a while, it was just surprising. It's it feels like the Gen Z people found out about Bluey, but Bluey's a great show. I think I've recommended it on here. But hello, M Blood Tea. All right. Anyway, let's talk about. Wait, where's my other thing? There we go. Man, the hair's being all funky tonight. All right, there we go. Okay, so before we, all right, Major Makazawa, message retracted. I wonder what that was about. All right, so where are we? Okay, so this and everything, oh, god damn it, this and everything I do is supported by you, the fans, either through super chats during the show, and I will take a chug of Red Bull and read what you have to say, or through Patreon, which is linked below in the description. It is a good way to support the show. It helps me be able to get this new computer, get a new mic, get adapters, anything I need like that. So it helps me be able to keep doing this sort of things. It makes it sort of financially viable, and with Patreon you get exclusive rewards like my commentary series, which I'll have 2 of this coming week, and you're supposed to get a video a week. Most of the time you do. There's postcards, Skype calls, more power in the movie review vote, learning how the vote count is, everything like that. There's a lot of cool exclusive stuff. Click on the Patreon for more details. But as long as you are financially able to do so, I very much appreciate it if you're able to do so. It really helps me out and it helps me be able to do this. It's made it into more of a thing than I ever thought it would be. So I very much appreciate that. And if you're just watching and you just enjoy watching, thank you for doing that. Even watching is supporting. And liking the video helps as well as, telling your friends or subscribing, hitting notifications. And I will say, if you hit notifications, a lot of times I do instant premieres. I did one of Dogma last night. I know it was late. I'm sorry. And then sorry. I'm sorry about that. There'll be a couple instant premieres next week. So if you want to be there and get the notifications when I'm doing an instant premiere, which I do of the reviews and some of the segments sometimes, then you will be notified and you can know when all the videos come out, because I make quite a lot of stuff. But if you just want to subscribe, that is cool too. But thank you all very much for all the support. I really appreciate it, by the way. I've noticed there's been like such an outpouring of support for everything lately. I've been feeling very good about that. Anyway, so the Discord, I wanted to preface the Discord. Zane Powers and Austin run a really great Discord server. If you enjoy the chat and you're watching this later, which most people actually do watch this show afterwards, not during the stream, and you like the chat or like my repartee with them, well, guess what? The Discord is that all the time, 24 hours a day. You can post. It has all sorts of stuff like general Ask Jim, where you can ask me questions, and I do answer everyone. I think there might be a few now, but I did answer them today. There's suggestions, there's gaming, movie crap discussion, movie news discussion, animation discussion, like all these great plays. They do watch-alongs. I'm not sure what they did on Friday. I'm sorry about that, everyone. And but they do a lot of really cool things that are really interactive and community-based and stuff. And Zane Powers and Austin do a fucking amazing job. So check that out. If you're interested, they do a great job, and the link is in the description as well. Also, I have Twitter, Instagram, my Facebook group, all sorts of cool stuff like that. So if you're on any of those, just sign up and join, and you can know when all the videos come out. All right. And Cornbread has a thumbnail prediction. And Cornbread, I want to put you on the spot, and I'm sorry to do this, but there's not going to be a show next Saturday. I would like you to do, here's what we're going to do. This is my idea, and if Cornbread is okay with it, it's okay, Austin. I'm just saying normally you do them. I just want to clarify that. Austin had a long week. Austin can take a week off. They do them a lot, though. But Cornbread, here's my challenge. There's not a show next week. I want you to make a thumbnail for the show that didn't happen next Saturday, and then I want you to or someone post it in the Lost Films. There's a Lost Film channel. There's also that in the Discord. Post it in there, and then we're gonna act like it's a movie crap that got lost somehow. And so anyone who subscribes or joins the Discord after that, we'll just start this like lore of a movie crap live that supposedly is lost but isn't, because it never happened. But they won't know that. So anyway, that is my challenge to you, Cornbread. I hope you do it. I will totally be like, even the Discord be like, man, what a great show that was. Anyway, not on Twitter though, because I don't want people to really think that, but like for the new people, it'll be funny. I don't know. Oh, hello, look at this. Hey, Marley's here holding a decent amount of AMC stock right now, so I need movies to make a comeback. I'm hoping so, Marley. Cheers to you, by the way. Nice to see you, man. Cheers to you. I hope everything is going well with you. But I'm thinking, before I talk about other things, man, my hair is being not cooperating tonight. I think there will be a comeback. Oh, hold on. Let me answer Marley's thing. Thank you, Saram. I think they will, but I think we need an event movie, and I think the biggest push we're going to see is Fast 9, and Universal is signing with, I believe Universal did sign with AMC. So I think that's going to be the big push, because almost everyone I hear, and even myself, who's nervous about coming back to theaters, is saying Fast 9. So I think you're going to see a bump then, if that helps, but I think it would, because Fast 9, I'm curious about the lag, because I think you'll see more day box office grosses than normal. But anyway, we have a very generous super chat from Sinram. Sinram said, first off, cheers to you, Sinram. Fun fact, each episode of The Nevers is accompanied by a featurette with cast and crew interviews and a B-roll footage. However, Joss Whedon is never mentioned and doesn't appear in any footage, though he directed some episodes. That's it. What? I wondered why they're proceeding with that, and I'm also very curious what they're going to do with that show, season 2. Like, how are you going to do anything with season 2 of The Nevers? Because it was totally greenlit because of Joss Whedon. Like, I'm very curious the future of that show, and the fact that they can't advertise it because of Joss Whedon, when in effect that's why it got the budget and got greenlit and got it made. It's just like such a bizarre situation, that whole thing. The Green Knight. I should have put that in my... Okay. Thank you for reminding me of the Green Knight. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is, I think, one of the biggest stories of the week. And I think it's been a long week, but I think we really need to acknowledge this. Before I get into that, I am surprised that people are liking Cruella, because I'm not expecting... I don't really like Disney live action remakes other than Pete's Dragon. I was gonna see it because it's a major movie, but I am surprised by that, Marley. So that has been weird this week. I'm like, Cruella, really? So as we all know, Tom Cruise is going to make a movie in space. We don't know when. We know he's going to use Elon Musk's whatever, John Musker's way less accomplished, shitty younger brother. Thank you for the 2 people who got that. Tom Cruise was going to go to space, and he was going to make the first movie filmed in space. Until we found out this week that Russia, motherfucking Russia, is going to try to beat Tom Cruise to space. An actress, Yulia, Russian last name, and Klim Shipenenko, this is the filmmaker, Klim Shipenenko, sorry, are going to beat Tom Cruise, and I'm just sad to hear that, because I thought it'd be cool. It'd be like a cool event, and Tom Cruise, like, he never thought he'd go to space and all that stuff. And then I thought, what would Tom Cruise's react? What would Tom Cruise do? And what Tom Cruise did was, he's on the set of Mission Impossible, whatever it is, and someone goes, Mr. Cruise. He's like, stay 6 feet away from me and wear a mask. And he's like, here's your phone, sir. I have to show you this. And he sees it. He sees this news article that Russia will beat Tom Cruise to space, because he calls himself Tom Cruise in his head, and he goes to Christopher McQuarrie, who's with him at all times, because of course, says, I have to fall out from this rogue nation because it's time to go into Ghost Protocol. And Christopher McQuarrie's like, motherfucking Russia? And he's like, motherfucking Russia. Then we smash cut to Tom Cruise driving his car through the desert. Limp Bizkit's Mission Impossible song plays, because he listens to that a lot, because it's his favorite song, of course. And he's blasting it, and he calls Elon Musk. This is last week, by the way, for chronology reasons. There's a reason for that. He calls him. He's like, hey, Elon Muskrat, what's going on, bro? So we need to go to space like today. And Elon Musk is like, look, man, I'm about to host SNL. And Tom Cruise is like, just fuck that. Who cares about SNL? I need to make a movie in space. And so Tom Cruise, in this reality that I'm just making up just now, convinces Elon Musk not to do SNL, thus not making that Anthony Fantano video where Grimes does that Italian accent, and he gives an amazing review. That's my favorite Elon Musk SNL video, by the way. But going back, since that never happened in this reality, that's been erased. And I will get to all this the super chats. I have to get through this. I have a bit. Don't worry. He's driving. He's like, get out of New York and see me on Days of Thunder, which is what Tom Cruise calls Wednesday. And so they meet up on a Wednesday, which why did he stop doing SNL? But Tom Cruise saved us all. So Tom Cruise meets up with Elon Musk and was like, we have to beat the Russians before October 5th, which is when they are going to go to space and film this movie. So we have to go before that, but we can't let them know. Now, the next part of this, there's a 50-50 chance that Tom Cruise has already trained for space like years ago because he's Tom Cruise and that's just like a thing. I'm not dissing Scientology. I just think Tom Cruise would naturally train for space. I just like, let's be real right now. Is that unbelievable if someone told you Tom Cruise has already trained for space? You know, I think he would. But there's a montage of him retraining for space because he's bored. I don't know. And you know, the Limp Bizkit song plays because he likes it a lot. Sometimes the Metallica song. He mainly likes songs from Mission Impossible movies. He plays that one Kanye West song that everyone forgets about, but he did a big press conference for anyway for Mission Impossible 3. Seriously, look it up. And he does all that. And then it's July 4th. If you're a classy person on July 4th, you're watching the DC Pops or whatever it is, and there's like the magical, orchestra playing, and then the orchestra person or however it is, I don't really watch it, plays like Fireworks by Katy Perry because it's 4th of July, and then they say we have a special guest, and up walks Fred Durst. And Fred Durst goes on the mic. He's like, look, I want to play a special request for my friend who's about to do the most American thing that's ever been done. Then cut to Washington Monument. Washington Monument opens like a banana someone cut in half, goes down to reveal a giant rocket, which will be a lot bigger than the Washington Monument, but, it's like CG can figure that out. So Tom Cruise comes out, and you see him. Is that Buster? Okay, let me get Buster. Hold on. Okay, sorry. Sorry. Anyway, so Adrian, this will make you celebrate 4th of July. So Tom Cruise comes out and goes, I am about to do the thing to show Russia that they can never beat the one American superpower that is completely undefeatable. That's right. They can't defeat me, Tom Cruise. Also, I have no disrespect for Russia because I need the international box office because I'm Tom Cruise. But anyway, he gets in the spaceship. Who's in the spaceship? Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames, the ghost of Roger Moore, what's his name? Billy Zane, but in the Phantom suit. And then Fred Durst live. Wes Borland shows up too, because why not? And they do the song for Mission Impossible. And it's Ryan. He's like, I don't know why you gotta hate me, because hate and all that stuff because of Woodstock 99 or something. I don't know. And he shoots off into the sky, blasting the Washington Monument to pieces, finally beating Russia on July 4th. Fireworks are shooting off. Tom Cruise is going up in the sky. Then literally everything I said in the last video happens. When this is a separate video, if I do that, they'll just cut to this. Zane Powers is involved. Things go crazy. It gets nuts. Tom Cruise flies off or whatever I said that time. Then they come back. Roger Moore's ghost comes out and says, I can't believe it, guys, but I think Tom Cruise reinvented cinema. There is no longer any content. It's all cinema. Mic drop. Netflix is over. Tom Cruise wins, and theaters are saved, and no one can defeat Russia. Thank you. All right. I didn't say Jeremy Renner. Was Paul Blart there? That's all in the last one. It'll cut to that when I do this. Sorry. I've thought about it. I should do this. Okay, sorry. Two super chats. 2J723 says Stanley Kubrick directed the first film in space. I mean, I guess that's sort of true because Eyes Wide Shut was shot on Jupiter. Cheers to you. June J723. I hope everyone enjoyed that. And then Paris, how do I factor in? And since I'm in the space movie, you're already on the space station. Zane Powers is already on the space station. No one's sure how you got there, but you're there. You know what I mean, man? Cheers to you. All right. I hope that was not too stupid. Oh, I like Paige Howard's. Okay, now I feel better about myself. I wonder how many people are like, I've never really checked out Jim's live streams before. And then they're like, what the fuck? All those. Henry Cavill was defeated. Anyway, let's move on. Sorry. Let's move on to less stupid things. So, Fast Nine's magnet stunt was invented by Justin Lin's 9-year-old son. Now you're probably like, Jim, are we still doing the bit? No, it's real, because Justin Lin would bring his son to all the meetings, and then he like basically was comfortable enough to pitch this idea. Now, what I like about Justin Lin is Justin Lin, hello Nina Garcia. Justin Lin is really good at doing the ridiculous of Fast and Furious, but having fun with it. And he's the only director who you heard would do that and wouldn't make some bullshit like monster trucks. He would make the real best content, which is Fast and Furious movies. So to me, that's like why Justin Lin is the grandmaster of, I shouldn't have said it that way, of Fast and Furious movies. But I think it actually it's like sounds perfect to me, and I know he's like a very much a family guy, so I think like, and by the way, Fast and Furious is like all about family, so totally appropriate. Although you think he could afford a babysitter knowing that he makes so much money. So I'm also like, maybe pay him more, but that's a whole other thing. Maybe it's his view on parenting. I don't know Justin Lin. He seems like a nice guy though. All right. There's not much to talk about. I just think it's funny, and I thought it was like appropriate. I just thought it's like Justin Lin like knows how to make these things. He's like 9-year-old ideas. Fuck, let's do it. All right. So the Adult Swim movies we found out this week that Adult Swim has ordered 3 movies based on 3 of shows that they basically all canceled, which are Venture Brothers, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and Metalocalypse. Although there's been a lot of push to, I think it kind of works in Venture Brothers. Been a lot of push to bring back. Metalocalypse has been over for a while. I think longer than Aqua Teen. Longer than Aqua Teen, really. And then Aqua Teen has already had a movie, so it's probably the one everyone's like least excited about. So basically, what I think they're doing here is Warner's has always been good at doing the on-demand thing with the animated stuff. I'm sorry, with the Banana Splits thing. That was Warner had a department to do things with content, like the what was it, the Velma and Daphne movie and stuff. Like they are good at doing the on-demand game with the DC animated stuff, and I think they're like, well, why aren't we doing that with the Adult Swim shows? And that's theoretically what they're doing here. I think it's a smart move because the thing with having all these resources at your disposal for a corporation is they often don't really fully utilize everything they can do with their IP. I think most companies don't. But then when you look at Warner and how it has Adult Swim, that's a fan base that's going to go wild for it. I will probably, order at least probably all of these, like definitely, because I want to support this stuff, and I think they can spend a certain amount of money on it. These will all eventually go to HBO Max. I believe the window is they will release globally on Blu-ray and DVD and on demand for a 90-day exclusive window, followed by premieres on HBO Max and Adult Swim. However, it does not say like 90 days and then premieres on Adult Swim and HBO Max. It's sort of like it has a 90-day exclusive window. They could just close that window and like wait a while. They weren't too specific, but it's effectively like they can just like, make some cash off of these things. If the collectors want the Blu-ray DVD, there you fucking go. And then they have more content for Adult Swim and more things to promote HBO Max. I think it's really cool. I'm especially cool because I'm a big Metalocalypse fan. I actually saw them live once. and I really like them, and I'm glad. I'm honestly a little more excited for that because I thought that I haven't watched in a while. So whenever I find out a real thing, I probably need to actually watch it. But again, so I am excited about that one. Venture Brothers as well, and I'm hoping these are successful because we could get several Venture Brothers movies. We could get more Aqua Teen stuff. I think the Aqua Teen one feels the most random, but I also think like if you premiere these the right way, I think people could be really excited for them. I don't really want to go through the plots because they seem fine. I was really excited for each of them, but it sounds like, as much as we want to shit on Warner's, and I know that's the thing, if you are a animation fan right now, but I think, this speaks to a better future if they're willing to do these things. So, because I think they realize like, well, we can use these, we can have what's on Adult Swim like Bird Girl and all that stuff, but we can also use the brands that aren't presently airing and give them another shot as well, because you already kind of had Rick and Morty and all this stuff, and everyone's saying, oh, there'll be a Rick and Morty movie. Like, I don't think Rick and Morty needs a movie. I think Venture Brothers and those things, like, let's bring up those. And but I'm excited. I'm most excited for Metalocalypse personally. I am of course excited for the Venture Brothers movie. I'm excited for all three, so I hope they keep doing these. But if you want more of this stuff, buy the DVD or Blu-ray, do it on demand. So, I don't want to say support a corporation, but effectively, like, if you're gonna go, I know a lot of people like bitch and moan on Twitter and so forth about like they're not supporting these things. Like, they're basically saying like, hey, all right, motherfucker, like, put up or shut up. So I think this is your opportunity to show them whether there isn't other, it is more profitable. So but I am excited for the advertising campaign for the Aqua Teen movie. The last one did pretty well, so the Legends of the Hidden Temple reboot on the CW. Now, this is interesting because there was a previous Legends of the Hidden Temple reboot that was going to happen on Quibi, but didn't. That one was going to be a mixture of survival meets Legends of the Hidden Temple, more for the adult fans of the original. This one is sort of like that, but not as high budget because CW don't got Quibi money. So it's apparently going to be sort of a forest set. They're not going to be in the forest. It's not going to be, it sounds like it's just Legends of the Hidden Temple with a different set and not Survival Legends of the Hidden Temple. So it sounds sort of like they had to budget it down when you compare the two reboot things. I'm sure it'll do well for the CW. They have a lot of like weird cults that cult shows that people don't realize. I mean, don't they still have Who's Line and stuff like that? So I think it would actually really work for them. It sounds like a good home for Legends of the Hidden Temple. Also, a new Regina King movie. She's been offered a movie called Bitter Root. This is from Legendary, and it's based on an Image Comics thing. It's basically about, I'm bringing it up because I don't want to say it wrong. It's a story set during the Harlem Renaissance of 1924, when a fractured family of once great monster hunters face an unimaginable evil that descends upon New York City. For generations, this family have hunted and cured those infected by supernatural force that feeds off of prejudice of the era, transforming human beings into hideous monsters, with most of the family dead, and the surviving family at odds between saving or killing the creatures. They must overcome the wounds of the past in hopes of thwarting of an invasion. That sounds really cool to me. So I'm actually excited for that. I've never read that comic, but concept alone sounds really cool. Okay, so Golden Globes, because that's what you came for, really. Sure. So the Golden Globes. I think we've been talking about for a while that the Golden Globes are not in a great space right now. They're not in a good position. And then this week dropped. And this week was probably, I don't know if they can come back from that. NBC felt that they weren't making the necessary changes and said they will not air the Golden Globes in 2022. They, I think, still could in 2023. But don't think they'll be ready for that. Tom Cruise mailed back all 3 of his Golden Globes because Tom Cruise don't fuck around, I guess. And then they were for a while saying, well, like a lot of people were questioning, like, how come you've never had any black members of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association? They do have like a very strict. It's only a particular kind of journalist. You have to be a journalist, a foreign correspondent for a journalist. You have to be a foreign journalist living in LA. So if you're a journalist who writes for like the Denmark newspaper, basically, and you live in LA, you can be part of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. And they always claimed that even though they have had apparently various Asian members and members of other ethnicities, that no one had applied in how many years have they been around, and things like that. And I will say that is true in terms of, not in terms of the length, I don't agree with that, but in terms of sometimes you will have a position open and you will want more diversity, and it just like, if no one applies, you actually can't really do anything. It's not but you can't really say that if it's like a decade. I just don't, that's like, or decades. If it's like one position and you're like, oh, I kind of wanted to, I didn't want it to just be white dudes or whatever, and sometimes people will rethink of it or stuff like that. But then a black journalist came out and talked about how she actually did try to apply and what happened with her, and how that sort of just completely fell apart because several journalists have basically jurisdiction over certain regions and will accept all the work in that region, even though they say that doesn't happen. Which of course, everyone was like, has anyone like applied? Like, it feels like someone must have at a certain point. Like, I don't know. But various places like Netflix, Amazon, Warner Media pulled out from the HFPA. They're basically falling apart at this point. I hearing all those things, and additionally, like the guy who did the Black Lives Matter thing, saying that Black Lives Matter was a terrorist organization, was the same one who sexually assaulted Brendan Fraser. Which by the way, it's that I find the most interesting. Because we're having this discussion, I don't hear enough of that brought up. And like, that guy was still involved with the organization like this year, and that was fairly public that most people know that happened to a major movie star, and like nothing happened to him. And I think it's like, why did we give this organization so much power? It seems to be a continual thing people are saying, and they were getting $60 million a year to put on that award show. Like, what? Like, I don't understand, like, what are you doing with it? Like, what is the power that it's, I don't know. What I really think will happen here is, I do think the Golden Globes is over. I don't think we'll see another Golden Globes. They could try to like air on like Fox News or like whatever Ben Shapiro network, but basically you're not getting talent to show up for that crap. And all the although I will say, all the journalists who fought against it and the publicists and stuff, when you look at those organizations, they're not very diverse, apparently. So it's like, it's a bit hypocritical, because it feels like the industry's like narrowing in on them, but they have had a ton of negative things they have done regardless. I don't know about more those publicists who also aren't that diverse, as many people said. I haven't been to those publicist offices, so I kind of am more talking in a general sense, and I sort of don't I don't know if that's true necessarily. It seems like people are talking in a very vague sense, but what I think will really happen is the Golden Globes will go away. I do not think NBC will take another award show. The way movies are working now, everyone keeps saying, oh, it'll be the Critics' Choice Awards, or SAG should get it, which is like, the SAG Awards are real garbage. So like, I've watched both over the years, and like, SAG is like real bottom tier. But I don't think you'll get either. What I think will really happen is they will go, we're just not going to have an award show. And everyone's like, well, who's going to take that award show slot during the Oscars? And just no one will. It'll just be like a whole, like, maybe the Critics' Choice will be pushed more with whatever network has them. But I just don't see NBC doing that. I just think that won't be sewn up, basically. But I totally think the Golden Globes should go away, especially where they're behaving, especially what they're doing. I just think we need to reform a lot of award shows. I don't know if we necessarily need the Oscars either at this point, but I think we'll see. I don't think we're going to see the Golden Globes again, because I don't think these are the kind of people who would ever make a significant change that would mean very much of anything. So, yeah. Nattenbach64 says, rule of thumb: never try to mess with. Or never try to mess around with Brendan Fraser. It's a bad curse. The Golden Globes have proven that. True. True. Cheers to you, Nattenbach64. All right. But the Golden Globes, it's fucking over. It's done. And I will say, even though Scarlett Johansson, who usually is not very good at saying anything publicly ever, was actually very much against, like, I don't do things with them anymore, as well as Mark Ruffalo. And Tom Cruise returning his. I think a lot more people should return theirs. That's what I think should happen. So, anyway. So, wow, this is a shift. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. The trailer dropped this week, and it looks... It looks basically, like I said on Twitter, actually, was that if Venom came out in 2001, this looks like it came out in 2003. Like, these look very like early 2000s comic book movies. This looks like the same way. It's kind of owning it. Like, I really don't think they give a shit at this point. Like, they're no one's thinking you're making a good Venom movie. I forgot this was directed by Andy Serkis, because they made a trailer breakdown video for IGN with Andy Serkis. Will says, personally waiting for the Moral Oro movie. Come on, Adult Swim, especially when Duke Johnson's getting attention for his upcoming film, The Actor. That's a good point, Will. That's a good point. It's a solid point there. Cheers to you. Cheers to you, sir. There has been some contention over companies hiring directors, and Amazon did a breakdown of Invincible for a YouTube video, and people don't like these major companies are doing these critical breakdowns, because they're not critical breakdowns. They're basically just like what used to be, DVD special feature kind of things. I don't really like what Amazon did with the Invincible thing, but this was like, that one was fine. The trailer looked just as stupid as I thought it would be. I didn't think they would really go with that dumb wig for Woody Harrelson as Carnage. It's such a weird, to me it seems like a weird casting, but then I was like, I don't even remember who played Carnage, like who Carnage was in the comics. I just remember like the symbiote Carnage. So it'll be a stupid fun movie like the first one was, where you're like, I like the Venom stuff more than Joker, because at least it was like dumb, and you watch it and you're like, oh, okay, that was like in early 2000. Why does this like look so bootleg and kind of stupid? And then it's like over and you're like, whatever. Like I'm sort of fine with the Venom movies. They're not as good as Fast and Furious, and they're not as interesting. They're just kind of like dopey early 2000s superhero movies. So good for them. Knives Out 2 has been casting up. So far, obviously Daniel Craig's involved, but they have Ed Norton, Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, and Catherine Hahn. The only person I heard whose part we have any idea of, and this was the weirdest notice, and I kept seeing it part around, so I kind of wanted to bring it up because I just find it like bizarre. So like, she's either playing the Lakeith Stanfield role or the Ana de Armas role. I'm like, so like the role that like the not white people played, like I was like, what is this, like what are you guys doing, like like that sounds utterly bizarre. And those are like not alike at all. Like those are not like I'm just like, what? I don't understand. I kept reading that and I was like, those aren't even similar. Like you guys are just racist. Okay, anyway, but it sounds like they are casting up. Apparently, the only stipulations with cast is the movie can't be too much more than the original budget, and it has to star Daniel Craig, because duh. But to me, it's like you can't. The franchise, the whole point of it is Daniel Craig. So, although I am interested, is Dave Bautista like broke Daniel Craig in Spectre. Like he actually like physically hurt him by accident. So I'm surprised that they're in a movie together again, especially one that Daniel Craig's producing. And we found out Norm of the North announced on Twitter that he is also cast in Knives Out too. So that'll be interesting. I'm curious. I think he will either have the Ana de Armas role or the Lakeith Stanfield role, because apparently there's like the same fucking thing, because holy shit, what the fuck. Anyway, no, Lakeith, I think the Lakeith canceled thing, I will address that actually, Embla. I think he was just in a group. He wasn't really lead. He was talking in it and other people were doing it. He was, to my understanding and from what I've seen, not engaging with it. Like, he was just there and that happened. And I don't think he'll be on Treehouse anymore. So that's what I think will happen. Hold on. Oh, my hair is like... Sorry. I need to get my hair cut maybe. This is a mess. Alright, I'm a mess today. Not shaved. What's going on? Okay, Will says, also, I mentioned this to you before, Jim, but why did they use all songs one? Why did they use of all songs one by Three Dog Night when it's a sequel and there's two symbiotes this time? Weird marketing decision. That is true. I forgot you did mention that. That is true. I guess because if one's the loneliest number, wouldn't you want more? Right? And why didn't they do the Amy Mann cover for Magnolia? Anyway, cheers to you, Will. All right. Yeah, I forgot Spectre happened. I think most people did at this point. They're like, didn't we go Skyfall and there's the new one? So Lord and Miller actually announced kind of an interesting project for them. And although they're mostly known for comedies and animation, they're working on a thing that they're planning to direct, actually, called The Premonition: A Pandemic Story. It's being produced by Amy Pascal. Basically what this is about the people who are trying to sound the alarm about the beginnings of the coronavirus. At first I was against this, and then someone actually brought that up in the Slash Film Daily. Peter Soretta brought up that Lord and Miller are actually known for making films, not only making films and making films that are good out of concepts that you'd never think that sound like movies you'd never want to see. And this does sound like something I'd never want to see. I think there's a change of pace for them. It sounds really cool. I kind of like the idea of them doing something different, because this, I'm like, I'm more excited by them when you're like, is that gonna work? And much like Solo, much like most of their films, like Lego Movie or the Jump Street films, or even Spider-Verse, you're like, is this gonna work out the way I think it is? And to me, it's like, I don't really want to doubt those guys, because it's like James Cameron. You don't want to doubt him because he's gonna come out with something cool, hopefully. And I think with them, I'm gonna believe, and I kind of like them doing a different thing. I think artistically they've sort of proven themselves over and over again, that they can just go back to animation. If this totally sucks, they're like, whatever, we'll just, like, I know they say they're doing the Andy Weir. That's the other thing. This might just be an announcement, but it's at least an interesting one. So Bong Joon-ho has announced he is working on a animated film about humans and deep sea creatures. We don't know actually much about this, but a deep sea creature movie from the guy who did The Host actually sounds really cool. He was the guy who did The Host, right? I'm like pretty sure. If he's not, then, well, the guy who did Paris. Now I'm gonna look it up, because now I'm just I believe it was The Host, and then there's gonna be the delay, and everyone's gonna know that I'm stupid. Director Bong Joon. Okay, I was right. Then why did I doubt myself? That was stupid. All right. Anyway. Yes, Bong Joon. So we got an animated film about humans and deep sea creatures. He's also, and I noticed this when you read the reports, he is currently actually working on a screenplay for an English language film that is expected to be produced before the animated film. So the animated film apparently is going to be second, although that seems to, at least we got like some idea of what that is. But with this, it does sound actually really interesting. I'm curious about that, but apparently Hollywood is really waiting very patiently, probably not that patiently, for his next Sorry, um, for his next film. So I'm curious to see how that all will come together. But it sounds actually cool. The Sea Monsters thing and him making an English language thing. I guess he's doing it because he has so much hype around him currently. He might as well use it. And if you're going to have all that auteur hype, might as well do something cool. So I hope this sounds cool. An English language film from him sounds interesting. Although I kind of am like, can't you just do like? I mean, he's done English language films before, but can't I would much rather him make Korean films. But whatever, we'll see. We got our first look at He-Man, by the Power of Grayskull, which is the cartoon that Kevin Smith is involved with. This, to me, looks pretty much what you'd expect. It sort of reminds me of the 2000s reboot of He-Man. It looks cool. I'm excited for it. I grew up watching He-Man. I was a big fan of it, actually, so maybe I'll watch some of them. I don't know if I'll do a review of that, so we'll see. Oh, yeah, that... I kept seeing people bring up that movie. What was it? Panic or what? Panic? The Dark Fish movie. I think I worked on that Saber Sparks video. Paddock. Sorry, Paddock. I have seen it. I believe I wrote a bunch of notes for it, but I did not review it myself, but I have seen it because I saw it for that video. So there's been a lot of talk over a Variety article that goes over how Bob Chapek is taking control of Disney. Which probably took a lot longer than it would have normally because of the coronavirus, and Bob Iger stayed on. And Bob Chapek actually didn't. It took him a while to kind of take hold, longer than when it was initially announced in January of last year. But he is now taking hold, and it seems like Iger's going to step down at the end of this year, as well as Alan Horn, who's one of the big industry gurus and all that stuff, who helps run Disney's film division. I've noticed there's a lot of pushback about this, and particularly like who he's put in charge of, like basically all of entertainment is like a guy who did product, and he's bringing in a bunch of corporate people who he came up with and stuff like that. The thing about the Iger era is, executive wise, it was kind of like this dream scenario for Disney. Thus, why they wanted to end so big in 2019, which I think was, in terms of coronavirus and what happened to theaters, they really had a real bang before the whole thing ended. But I do think that they had kind of one of those big, great industry executive combos, like Disney really did, and still does, because Feige's there and Kathleen Kennedy's there and all those people. But I think they're kind of restructuring. We're kind of seeing, the problem with executive stuff is like, you know some and you know others, and you don't really know what's going on unless you talk to somebody, and then you can't say stuff and whatever that stuff. But I do know when Iger started, he actually brought someone from Disney TV over before Alan Horn, and he basically like didn't run it very well, and his big contribution was like that movie Prom, which was like a big deal corporately and was his like big movie. And then when that became nothing, I think actually, speaking of another video I worked on, which was the Roundtables video about Disney's biggest bombs, and that was on there. That was on there because I was like, no, the Prom was actually kind of the thing that like ousted that guy, because that was like his big that was like his only impact was Prom. If you remember that movie with the girl from Friday Night Lights, and I don't remember. I never saw it, so I don't even know. But that beginning didn't start off so well, and then they bought like Alan Horn basically from Warner's. I would not be surprised if a lot of these executives who start off with Chapek are there when Chapek really hits his stride, if he does, which I'm assuming he will. I don't expect him to basically, like, this is not going to be the executives for like the next 10 years or some shit like that. Like, that's idiotic. And even like Eisner didn't have the same executive team going throughout. Iger won't either. Chapek won't at the same point. Like, there will be other people. This might not be the group that puts it past the finish line. I really just don't think this is the death nail that, like, I know, like, John Campea, and I'm sure Midnight's Edge probably talked about, and like all those people. So like I just don't see it, because I know these things change, and I know like Iger didn't hit a home run out the gate either. So it's something like, and also Chapek's had a crazy first year. Just like, let's chill out. I think it's a lot of like pent up aggression because they haven't been able to talk shit about him for a while. It sounds like Feige, they're gonna let him do what he wants. It doesn't sound like from this report he wants anything to do with Star Wars, which I think is probably a good move. I'm curious what's going to happen to Lucasfilm and Star Wars, because it does feel like they're at a real crossroads right now in terms of what's going to become that. But in other Disney news, which was actually controversial, was the idea that Marvel doesn't actually consider the people who run like WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier showrunners, and apparently they are not considered showrunners in the traditional sense. Basically, Kevin Feige's the showrunner, and even WandaVision apparently was his idea, and these people are basically head writers, not showrunners. And a showrunner is sort of like the head creative in charge. A lot of veteran TV people were really upset by this. They don't want Marvel to set a precedent and so forth. There's been sort of some people saying like that's a bit much, because I doubt they'll all rip off Marvel with that. Because most of these companies are like don't want to be Kevin Feige. Like most executives don't have that creativity in them, and they know like they hire people to do those things, and they're not that interested. Other people are worried that other companies will do that. Maybe, but I don't think like I think like you hire a Dick Wolf for a reason. You hire certain showrunners. Like Warner Media, I don't think would really get into it unless you have like Greg Berlanti, who is sort of the showrunner on every show he produces. So how is it different from that precedent that's already set there? I think it's just sort of like Marvel has so much power and so much of the pop culture spotlight that anything they do becomes a bigger deal. I don't think this is big, because like Dick Wolf, for example, Dick Wolf is an executive in charge of like how many shows at one time, like sometimes 3 or 4 shows. So to me it's like, it's not, I don't know, it's just not I understand like hearing that sounds bad, but it's sort of like, yeah, but like, you know, I and also both those people are not the biggest like seasoned people in the world, and they will get to go on and have bigger careers after this, which is like how this works. They're not gonna fucking stay at Marvel. I mean, maybe they want to, maybe they're happy, I don't know their life, but it just, to me it's like the showrunner thing, when people freak out, like most of the industry apparently was like, I don't want to change that, I've got stuff to do, like just like make them do it. It's just like not like, I think certainly with Marvel shows, sure, but like that's a whole other, that's like the cinematic universe model. So I don't, unless you like want to be in the Arrowverse or want to make a Marvel show, I don't think this will be a new precedent. But it is interesting that this is it. Well, okay, it is more interesting that we don't see this pushback for Greg Berlanti, but we see this pushback for Kevin Feige, which is kind of shows you the difference in how mainstream pop culture is covered is more about like what has the spotlight, not what is going on in total, which I think is a problem I have with entertainment reporting in general, because there's a lot of stuff that makes a lot of money, gets a lot of ratings, and you never hear articles about it. No one ever talks about it. So, sorry. So Jungle Cruise, which is coming out at the end of July, is going to go on Disney Premier Access. This was a little surprising because The Rock is a pretty huge movie star and can open a movie, certainly, and you wouldn't, it's kind of one of the bigger summer titles, and but I think they're kind of recognizing a couple things. One, we're really not done with this yet. There could be other I'm sorry to bring these up when I talk about distribution, and if that triggers anyone or upsets you, I do want to apologize for that, because I understand like that's not what you want to hear. I think that's like sort of the reality we need to hear. I'm very pro wearing a mask. I actually wear 2 fucking masks, so even with this stubble beard or whatever it is. So it, I just think, they're kind of realizing that this could be a disruption that is not going away this year, or maybe in another year, which some people have said. So I think they're keeping their plans open. However, they are committing to, so I want to bring this up. Apparently it's not Shang-Chi, even though I've called him Shang-Chi for like 20, 30 years. I mean, he wasn't my favorite character, but if someone referred to him, I always heard Shang-Chi, no matter who it was. But apparently Marvel is saying it's pronounced Shang-Chi. Sorry, Shang-Chi. And I was thinking about why that was actually. And because, and I talked to, when I met, and I think I've talked about this before, when I met the people who made the X-Men animated show, I talked about how before that Magneto episode aired, I remember having debates in the comic book store, like, no, is it Magneto or is it Magneto? Because no one had said it, and they actually said they're the ones who chose a lot of those pronunciations because Stan Lee and those guys didn't know. Like, they didn't have a pronunciation for, like, a standard pronunciation for some of those characters. So I think what happened is there hasn't been, I don't think, a Shang-Chi like movie, or there hasn't been that many cartoons or something. So I think Marvel is then going like, well, we've always thought of it as Shang-Chi, or maybe they're deciding it should be called that. I'm curious about that whole thing. But anyway, I haven't seen, like, in the trailers, I don't think they refer to him as either, right? Like, I don't think they're, I want to know what it is, because yeah. I am vaccinated, but anyway, by the way, since I see people in the chat talking about that. But Shang-Chi and Free Guy will be exclusive during the 45-day window, which Paramount introduced, and that seems to be the new theatrical exclusivity model now. Instead of the 90 days, we're getting... or Shang-Chi? I'm confused by the whole thing. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't look like Shang-Chi. It doesn't look like Shang-Chi, but whatever. Yeah, so we're getting Free Guy and whatever it is, with the 45-day window. We're not sure if it's going direct to Disney Plus after those 45 days, or if it's going on demand and then Disney Plus. That is not clear. But it does sound like a way to kind of help the theaters that are out, or make you think like, oh, theaters are going to go back, to normal or something like that. And if things start getting worse, they can roll that back and just put it on Disney Plus or whatever. So I think it's just them. It seems like they're kind of like, we're not moving the schedule anymore. This is the way it is kind of thing. And I think they just kind of want to sew up that, and be like, and I think a lot of these companies were a little threatened by Warner's, because not only did Warner's push the HBO Max thing a lot, but they also were like, here's our slate and it's not changing. And I'm sure that annoys the fuck out of Disney. Oh, thank you. Phaser says, that's because that's how it is pronounced in Chinese, right? Yin and yang should be pronounced yin and yang. Oh, okay. That's also why they pronounce Aang's name differently in M. Night's Last Airbender. Okay. Thank you. That was actually very helpful. Okay, thank you very much. I was very confused by that. So, okay. That was, okay, thank you. Thank you. I like when people, okay. Free Guy, okay, so Free Guy, no, Free Guy I don't think would go to HBO Max. That HBO deal is a little overstated. I think they can probably pay out, or whatever it is. It would probably go to Hulu, to my understanding. But I will say, A Guy Named Crystal, they did not specify that. So it could go either way. There wasn't actually a specification. So you might actually be right. But from everything I read, everyone said Hulu. Maybe that is part of that deal. Okay. And a last bit of Disney news. This is kind of the Disney chunk of news here. So Eternals and Shang-Chi, Phaser. That was actually very helpful. Thank you. Now, like, I understand why that is. So that's actually really cool. That's one of the things, people don't talk about online. If you generally like go like, hey, why is this? Like, I'm just curious, and you're not like a dick about it. Like, people are pretty cool about it. So I always like when that happens. In China, there are two problems they're having with two Marvel movies getting release dates in China. But before we get to that, Nattenbach64 has a very generous super chat. Said the 90-day exclusive window was put into question even before the pandemic. I still remember when Red Sparrow was released on home video just 2 months after it came out in the US, when it underperformed. Yep. But see, here's the thing about, cheers to you, Nattenbach64. When films underperformed, they never cared if it broke the exclusive window. I remember people would get upset a little bit. Like, there was actually a controversy, this isn't a joke, because I've been following movie news for so long. There's a controversy that From Justin to Kelly was going to go on home video, I think, like 2 weeks or something after it came out in theaters. And theaters were really pissed about it. And then From Justin to Kelly came out. Anyway, I think they pushed it back to like a month, but I think like after it came out, they're like, yeah, I don't fucking, it's like whatever. And Daniel, that's like a true thing. I don't, someone should look that up and make, I mean, maybe I should make a segment about the controversial release of From Justin to Kelly, and it's just about distribution, and people are like, this is the worst video. Anyway, thank you very much, NatBlock64. I forgot about that Red Sparrow thing. And Daniel Vasquez said, just to let you know that The Quiet Place 2 and Conjuring 3 are opening a week apart. Oh, I didn't realize that. Do you think it's a terrible release date for them and won't work out? I didn't realize that. Cheers to you, Daniel Vasquez. Well, I'll say this about it. I think you mean that. Yeah, I guess that is that way. Well, so Quiet Place 2 has one thing because it's doing the 45-day thing, which we talked about last week. So I think if people miss it in theaters because it's exclusive in theaters, it'll get that push on Paramount Plus. But Conjuring 3, which Conjuring I don't think is the franchise it used to be in terms of box office, it'll be on HBO Max. So it'll be more of the talk. It'll get more online buzz. It will probably do a little better in the box office because of that buzz from HBO Max. So I'm curious, that will be an interesting one. I think it is sort of a bad release strategy, but it might actually be worse for A Quiet Place 2 because a lot of people aren't comfortable going to theaters, even though a lot of people comment on how good A Quiet Place was to see in theaters. But anyway, that's really interesting. Thank you for that, Gina Vasquez. All right. So anyway, China is not putting out release dates for Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi, I think. Am I saying that? I need to just figure this out. Next, in the 2 weeks, I'm going to work on my pronunciation of Shang-Chi. So Shang-Chi and Eternals aren't being given release dates in China. Shang-Chi, because they actually have problems with the Mandarin character saying he is basically a racist depiction despite the way they recontextualized him in the movie. And the Eternals, because they just really do not like Chloe Zhao at all. Because I think I talked about what she had said about China in some interview. They actually did not report on her winning Best Director at all in China in any part of social media or in the press. So I'm curious if that hurts her career in terms of like her Dracula movie and doing big budget stuff, because Nomadland doesn't really need, I mean, they're not going to make a ton of money overseas. That's not an overseas movie, but Eternals like sort of needs that. I'm really curious, are they going to just change her name in China or something? I don't know like how you would combat that. I'm curious how Disney's going to deal with that one, because they like really do not like her. And I think that I'm curious like how she's going to handle that. I'm not saying she should, but it does seem like they're like very zeroed in on like not liking her specifically, which stinks because she's a great filmmaker. So I hope that gets resolved. I'm very curious about Eternals in general. Oh, and another Daniel Vasquez super chat says, reasons why I asked, because I remember you mentioning last year that Scoob and SpongeBob opening a week apart won't work out, but SpongeBob got pushed back. But you're right. Originally, I did feel like that wouldn't work out. So that was a good point. But that didn't actually happen. So maybe they'll push back. They could push back Conjuring, I guess, if they wanted to, because there's not a ton of theaters. But, yeah, that is a good point. I think they are kind of different horror movies, though. But I think this is a little different because SpongeBob and Scoob were similar in terms of release and audience. And I think, I don't know. We'll see how that works. I think it's going to work out for Conjuring 3, which doesn't seem like the obvious choice, but we'll see. But cheers to you, Daniel Vasquez. Thank you for both of those super chats. That's cool of you. Okay, we need to... Where are we? So the Ultraman movie, Netflix is developing an animated Ultraman feature with an all-new story, and the concept art looks actually really cool. It is going to be a It's actually going to be worked on from people who worked on Kubo and the Two Strings. It's basically an animator who worked on Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings, Shannon Tittle, as well as one of the screenwriters from Kubo, Mark Hames, and John Ashuma, I believe. And he will co-direct, and he also worked on Gravity Falls. So it sounds like actually a cool group of people working on it. I don't know Ultraman as much as some people do, but I think that actually could be a really cool movie. It sounds like if that group was working on a movie, I'd be interested in anyway. It sounds like Netflix is really invested in doing things with Ultraman because of how big he is in Japan, but I'm curious like how big, how they can push him through to America. Maybe this is like what they're trying to do, because I think they probably look at how this is how they need to kind of break Ultraman in America a little bit more than it is. And I think they're also looking at like what they've done with Godzilla and looking at these legacy brands that I think it actually works out for some of these streamers, because not only if you made Ultraman popular, and there's so much Ultraman that isn't really available on streamers and stuff, and you open those floodgates, suddenly your streaming platform is a lot more valuable. And as I've said, the cult stuff really helps those streamers, and I think having a cult thing like Ultraman that's already has its own cult, I think could really work out for him. So it sounds really cool. So Rugrats released 2 shorts this week, which they did on the Paramount Plus YouTube channel and then various other Nick YouTube channels. One was a kind of remake sort of the ball episode where Angelica throws the ball over the fence. That one was fine. It kind of just highlights how this isn't as good as the original to me. But the one I did like, and I forget the name of it, was where Spike and Tommy go outside at night and check out like this noise and stuff. I thought that one actually kind of worked. I'm a bit half and half on this. I'm like, this could work, and another half of me is like, this is just not gonna come together. But we'll see. I will review the pilot. I think it might be on in the 2 weeks from this movie crap. But I'm a little apprehensive on it, and their voices do sound a little weird, much like mine. But we'll see about that. So we'll be doing some quick stuff. I do sort of have to pee, and we should switch over. I kind of want to take the break in 20 minutes, but I might do it a little sooner. So there's this thing with Seth Rogen and James Franco, and I wanted to explain one of the things because Charlie Yee, who has been talking about it on Instagram, and I don't want to disregard her issues with Franco and everything that was going on, and she objected to him on the side of the disaster artist, and it sounds like they're trying to pay her off. She was saying how the Pam and Tommy Lee thing had James Franco listed as a producer, I think, and most people, like, if you had asked me, like, why is he still on there, because he was previously, I think, going to play Tommy Lee or something, and that was a while ago, and it seemed like he was, anytime I saw a press thing and they mentioned him as a producer, or it'd say, oh, he was a producer, but we're not sure of his status, it seemed like it was just sort of a leftover credit, and no one had erased it, and then they did erase it when she brought it, kind of made it public. And then Seth Rogen also said he'd not work with he doesn't have plans to work with James Franco, and she also called him out because of the producer thing. I don't think that's the big thing that some people are making it out to be. It's sort of just a leftover IMDb credit. It might have just like been on a couple forums they had or something like that. But to my understanding, there's no evidence of him being on set, unless there is. If there is, then I will hear it out. I'm glad she is kind of calling Seth Rogen out, because I feel like a lot of these people like definitely had to have known like what was going on with him, and they seem to kind of just want to distance themselves from it. And I know she was kind of like involved with that group, but clearly isn't anymore. I'm very curious what's going to happen with this, because it feels like there's going to be more, and specifically that like she's the only one who doesn't want to let it go, and it seems like there's like, I don't want to say there's a cover up, but it just seems a little fishy. Like people are like just want to backtrack away from it. It's like, how did you guys were supposed to be such bros? Like what's going on there? So we'll see what's going on there. But I really do think, like, from my understanding of how these credits work and stuff, it did feel like a leftover credit. I don't think he's involved at all, from my understanding. Another thing that was just a contractual thing is Gina Carano there was like like a mailer or something saying, who you should nominate for certain seasons, and her name for Emmys, and her name was on there. This is a contractual thing. I'm sure it's a thing Disney was like, look, we don't want to pay her out. Just like put it on the stupid thing, and we've filled out our contractual obligation. When actors sign up for big shows, they do have a thing in their contract like, you will submit me for Emmys and you will pay this thing or whatever. And they might have already like made the sheets and before she was fired and all that stuff. It might be something like that. It is not like Disney does not like isn't going to bring her back, or isn't like, oh, well, we still want the award or something like that. Could they have not done it and paid her out? Probably, but maybe she wouldn't take the money. Maybe, we don't know, but it's not like, no one's going to vote for her, so don't worry about it. Even before this, she was not getting a best supporting actress, so don't worry about it. But it's not what about that? But yeah. Okay, so last thing, and then we'll do trailers and stuff. Margo Robbie says she wants Poison Ivy in the DCEU, and she's open to them having a relationship thing. I think, like, come on, let her go, because I think Margo Robbie, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Harley Quinn movie. It's fun, but I don't freak out. Like, I like the breakfast sandwich parts, but it's like, if you can't have Harley Quinn without Poison Ivy. Like, that's practically how the character is created. And it's like, let Margot Robbie have a cool Poison Ivy. I don't understand that. Nattenbox64 says, insert a Clownfish TV intro. Very true. Cheers to you. Oh, we killed a Red Bull. So trailers and stuff. I have a bunch of stuff here. The Wish Dragon trailer, which was actually different this time. It came out this week. It looks really cool. It actually had a part that reminded me of Blade Runner 2049 because of him talking to that billboard. It looks cool. It looks fun. It was probably the best trailer I've seen so far. I keep hearing about The Card Counter, which is a Paul Schrader film that I believe Ethan Hawke's in, and I heard about it so much on Twitter and through podcasts and stuff. I really thought a trailer was out. I could not find a trailer. But I keep hearing good things about it. So, I mean, it's a Paul Schrader film. Those are at least interesting usually. And it's apparently his more of a push to get kind of a bigger thing. So I'm curious why we're hearing that mentioned so much. But we'll see. This trailer for Stillwater, which is the Tom McCarthy film, his follow-up to Timmy Failure. But also, I guess, his real follow-up to Spotlight, starring Matt Damon, kind of trying to get his daughter out of jail, who... They framed her for killing someone overseas and all this stuff. It sounds kind of interesting. I'm not a big Tom McCarthy fan, but it looked like a good, interesting performance from Matt Damon in it. The Forever Purge, which sort of looked like a Purge movie, kind of a Red State version of a Purge movie. I like the Purge films. Like I've said before, like, I enjoy them. I've only watched the second Purge more than once. The rest, I think I watched the third Purge a second time. Purge election year, but I haven't watched the first Purge, or the movie called The First Purge. The very first Purge movie, I just like not into. That's like the worst one. But so if you're ever gonna watch a Purge movie, start with number 2. You don't need to see the first one unless you like all the others. But it looked actually really cool. But I enjoy these films. I mean, be interesting to see. I like now that it says like only in theaters. Like, you remember when it used to say that, and you're like, you don't need to say that. I know I'm only gonna see it in theaters. And now you're like, oh, this actually means something. I'm glad you started this verbiage far too early. We got images for Monsters at Work, which look how you think it would look. Snake Eyes actually look cool. I was a little surprised by that. Not incredibly cool, but cooler than I thought it would. We found out that the Friends special is coming out May 27th on HBO Max. They've been trying to get this done for a while. I think it'll be interesting. And the Jamie Kennedy so Jamie Kennedy's YouTube channel, I'm not a big Jamie Kennedy fan. Let me just say that, because I think I didn't really watch the Jamie Kennedy Experience. I when I was a kid, I thought he was cool in Scream, and then I saw the rest of his work. I was like, oh, this, not so into him. But he's actually doing these cool YouTube videos where he talks about how he was cast in certain movies. He's talked about, I believe, Scream 2. I don't know if he did Romeo and Juliet. I forget. But he's done a bunch of or Good Will Hunting. Those are really interesting if you like behind the scenes stories. But he's been doing one about the whole thing about the story about Son of the Mask. and his Son of the Mask one's been really cool. And he's did one part that was just the beginning of it, and he did part two, which is still pre-production. Like, we haven't gotten into production yet, and it's like really fascinating. So I really recommend. A lot of his YouTube channel stuff I don't like. It's like reactions to stuff and like interview clips from a podcast. Like, I don't really want to listen to, but those ones he does are like really, really good. I will say that. Like, almost anyone I know who doesn't even like him likes those. So I would recommend that. There's going to be a Bring It On. He wasn't in Scream, or was he in Scream 3? I forget the deal with that. There's going to be a Bring It On Halloween movie. Apparently it's like the 7th Bring It On movie. It's going to be on the Sci-Fi channel, or the Sci-Fi, is that how you say it now? Channel. A lot of people have suggested that because Bring It On is a Universal property, it could be a Bring It On Halloween hybrid, like those two franchises, but I think it is a Halloween movie with Bring It On in it. So we're there now, I guess. Love the fact that he mentioned Monkey Bone in the vid. You're right, Nathaniel Foga. You know what's funny? When I saw that, I was like, I wonder if Nathaniel Foga will notice that. And of course he did. Cheers to you. Nathaniel Foga is Mr. Monkey Bone. We got Indiana Jones 5 casting news. Boyd Holbrook, as well as Shantae. What? That doesn't... Shantae Renee? Am I reading that right? No, Shantae Renee Wilson. Okay, sorry about that. That sounds cool. I'm not so into the whole Indy 5 thing, but good for them, I guess. I don't... it's like not... I don't know. I mean, if people want to... I mean, I know it's sort of a Logan reunion with Boyd Holbrook, who I'm not actually a fan of other than in those. But, I don't know. Indy 5 looks like it's definitely happening with... But James Mangold was good with Boyd Holbrook. He'd be a good villain. Hotel Transylvania, he was a good villain. That's the only time I've liked him, was when he's a bad guy. We're going to get a Hotel Transylvania 4 trailer on Monday. The Jungle Cruise announcement thing was a Jungle Cruise announcement. We did get Emily Blunt talking about... Okay. Yeah, I think it'll just be a few things, and then we'll take a break. We did get... I knew you were going to bring this up. Ryan, with the super chat, says... Jamie Kennedy is selling a shirt that takes the Evangelion poster and replaces his head with his green Son of the Mask face for real. That is true. Cheers to you, Ryan Walterson. It's also weird when he also pushes a hoodie that's him in his character from Romeo and Juliet. He's like, hey, check the merch drop. It's something, whatever his character was, Montague hoodie. And I'm like, this is like not what is going on right now. I just don't. Yeah, oh yeah, and they cost $45. The Son of the Mask Evangelion thing was weird because I don't think he mentions it's an Evangelion reference. And I was like, does he know what this is? Does he know? So Emily Blunt talked about the Fantastic Four casting thing. She said she has not been called. It's fan casting. She also goes through the whole Black Widow thing and talks about how it was heartbroken because she did want to be Black Widow. She did want to work with Robert Downey Jr. It doesn't sound like she really wants to be in the Marvel thing. She said they're not really for her. The other thing about this, and she's not going to say it because it would be a real egotistical thing. But she made, like, supposedly, from what we learned last week, made $15 million from A Quiet Place 2. I guarantee you she made something like that from Jungle Cruise. She probably made a lot of money off that. If she's making 10 to 15 million off a regular movie, like, what is Marvel's deal gonna be? Like, I just feel like she's too expensive for Marvel. Like, I feel like that's probably the thing. Like, Marvel might not have called her because they're like, wait, how much we gotta give her? And that's just the first one. Oh man, like, I don't know about this. We don't start that high. So I think that might be an issue there. We found the iCarly revival date. I kind of need to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to go to the bathroom, take my break now. I'll talk about the two news things, and then we'll get into the segment. So I will be right back. Behave yourselves. And thank you for being here. Okay, cool. Sorry about the wait, everyone. Ugh, okay. Sorry. Oh, I missed the super chat. Okay. Nattenbox64 said Blunt had a contractual obligation with Fox to be in Gulliver's Travels, or else. Cheers, you, Nattenbox64. So, sorry, I rushed through that because I really had to pee. So basically, what happened, and I read this from other people back in the 2000s, and even in the 90s, and they stopped doing it kind of soon after. They would sign you to multiple pictures, especially younger actors, and they did that to her. And she always knew that was hanging over her, basically. And they, as soon as she was cast as Black Widow, they decided, no, we want you for Gulliver's Travels. And I've never heard her. It was known in the press that happened, and she actually did talk about it at the time. But it sounds like to me, like if she was going to do a superhero movie, that was going to be. Is it haunted? I think you might be hearing other people, because a window's open. Or people upstairs or something. Sorry about that. I just really had to go. But yeah, I think that's probably. But she did talk about, Emily Blunt did talk about that in the Howard Stern clip that has been posted everywhere. But she kind of goes into it. But I think, to me, it's like I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe and her didn't line up, basically. But the two other things that I'll talk about before getting to Best New Filmmaker, because I'm going to talk about that first, actually. Oh, Medulla Butterfly's leaving? I missed that. Oh, hello, everyone. Oh, happy birthday to your mom and nephew. Congratulations to both of them. Don Cheadle said that Michael B. Jordan will show up in Space Jam: A New Legacy, but not in the way you're expecting. I'm curious what that will be exactly, or he'll be the villain. I think that would be cool, but I'm curious what that means. I'm curious about that. A lot of people are saying there's probably not enough money to get Michael Jordan to be in a movie again because he's just very wealthy, but we'll see. I think, I'm curious what his cameo will be, but I think he should have one. I think that'd be cool. I think it'll be the moment most people will be talking about. And Amphibia, we finally learned it's getting a season finale next Saturday, or it's getting to air its season finale in America. The creator was talking about how he was sad about how the momentum was sort of ruined by this whatever Disney's doing. I still, when reading about the Adult Swim movies, I have to say Warner Media is so much better at handling properties that are not big ones. They're able to acknowledge them and give them a push and get them publicity. And I'm really starting to think maybe that's something Bob Chapek really needs to work on, to be honest with you. And I really do mean this in that, you have these properties, don't let it be a Gravity Falls thing for this blows up outside of your control. This success happened. Oops, we should have maybe given them a little more love at the time. And I think with Amphibia or Owl's House and stuff like that, you see these fandoms growing, and it's or the numbers aren't that good, which I think is a major possibility. But then it's if the numbers aren't that good, why are you fucking keeping it on? Just end it in a roundabout way. Why create all this nonsense? It's either the numbers are shit or you're just being an idiot. And it's pick a lane, and it's either don't make this stuff if the numbers aren't great, or if you do make this stuff, then enhance it, push it on Disney Plus. Make one of the tiles Amphibia or Owl's House or something one weekend. To me, it's at least do that, but whatever. Sidebar. Kermit did a guest voice on Amphibia, and Fozzie did a guest voice on Big City Greens. Who's next? Miss Piggy on Owl House. I'm going to go with that. That's interesting, Ryan. Cheers to you. Cheers to you. All right. So I'm not going to take another break. What I am going to do is talk about the first segment of the night, which is, so if you've been here, and I don't know if Sinram's in the chat, I hope he's here for this. But Sinram and I were talking about the MTV Movie Awards. And for ever since I started doing this show and doing segments, I wanted to talk about when I was growing up and I was into film and I watched the MTV Awards, and we have a super chat, so hold on. Nattenbox64 says Disney can more or less be the Activision Blizzard of media when it comes to mishandling cult titles. I have no clue what that means, but cheers to you, Nattenbox64. Um, I owe you $5 Canadian if I'm right. Oh man. Okay. All right. So Cinram's here. Okay. So as a kid who watched a lot of MTV in my teenage years and was really into movies, the MTV Movie Awards were kind of a special thing because they were less stodgy than the Oscars. I usually had seen or at least heard a bit about all the movies nominated. And they also had a really cool thing in the 90s where they had an award called the Best New Filmmaker. And this started from the very first MTV Movie Awards in 1992, going all the way to 2002, but then they stopped after that. This was always an award I look forward to because you got a new, cool, usually indie director for the most part. I think these are all indie directors. And they talk about their movie, and then any kid who had even the slightest interest in film could hear about an indie film that normally they weren't. Now, I did watch the Indie Spirit Awards in the 90s because I'm that cool. But most kids didn't. So this was like the only indie film exposure they were going to get. Most kids didn't really watch Siskel and Ebert or anything. I mean, they did sometimes, but they might miss something like this. The other thing about this is that MTV's award shows would replay quite frequently throughout the summer. So if someone won Best New Filmmaker, you're seeing that ad constantly over time. And that got me into a lot of these movies. Now, the first person to win Best New Filmmaker was John Singleton, Boys in the Hood, which seemed like a pretty obvious one to do because Boys in the Hood, John Singleton was the youngest director ever nominated for Best Director. He was the first African American nominated for Best Director, everything like that. And I think they probably did it at first because independent film was booming in the 90s. John Singleton was really hot at the time. So it was a way to like give John Singleton an award, show you liked indie film, and go and push it from there. And we have a super chat from ToonJ723 said Activision turned Crash Bandicoot and Spyro Studios Toys for Bob into another Call of Duty support studio. Okay. I, again, don't know what that means, but I'm sure you do. So cheers to you, ToonJ723. So, anyway, what was I saying? So he was the first winner of the MTV Best Movie Awards. And then after that, they had various cool winners. I'm actually going to go through most of them. There was Carl Franklin for a film. They didn't actually pick like cool movies for a while. I will say, like Tarantino didn't win one of these. But they have people like Carl Franklin who won one for One False Move, which was a big movie in the early 90s. Did not really move on from that. It's actually a pretty cool movie. I don't know if it's as good as like everyone proclaimed it to be in the 90s, but it was one that had a lot of hype behind it. I recommend it. It has Billy Bob Thornton way before he blew up. Steve Zazillion won for Searching for Bobby Fischer in 94. 95 it was Steve James for Hoop Dreams, which that was a little cooler. And Hoop Dreams, by the way, if you've never seen it, I don't care if you like basketball or not, it's one of the best documentaries and best films ever made. But then, and this was one that I actually saw because of this, which was Wes Anderson for Bottle Rocket. Now, this was before Rushmore and Wes Anderson was a name, and I actually went and rented Bottle Rocket because I kept seeing Wes Anderson win anytime they rebroadcast this. And MTV would play like, oh, this is this cool indie movie that would appeal to young people kind of things. Like, I remember them playing ads for Welcome to the Dollhouse with like Interview with Todd Solondz, which very quickly MTV would never do things like that again. But I remember that Wes Anderson thing, and it really got me to want to see Bottle Rocket. And that's what I liked about I think that was the first one I actually watched. And then they gave it to Doug Liman for Swingers, which, I mean, there was a lot of hype around Swingers. So some of these became a little more obvious because I think, and I even talked to kids who were a little older than me, and they talked about how they really, how they really got into like kind of these more not necessarily MTV kind of movies. How they got into these not, sorry, how they get into these, okay, how they got into these kind of not kind of usual MTV movies through this award. It was kind of a way to get people into it because this award show got so much exposure. All your friends were going to watch it, things like that. But after Doug Liman, they gave it to like the guy who directed the Flamanti, Peter Satanio, which is like kind of one of those in here that I'm like, I mean, I guess like Steven Zillion at least became a big director. Steve James is a good documentarian. Like some of these you can explain. The Full Monty guy, it's like I know Full Monty was nominated for Best Picture, but like really, I don't I don't know. After that, it's kind of like all hits. In 1999, Guy Ritchie was nominated. I remember backstage reports told me that Will Smith's horse from his Wild Wild West performance actually stepped on Guy Ritchie's foot. I remember that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I remember that. And that actually, Lock, Stock was probably the last one that like I'd heard about before this really pushed me to go rent. But after that was like Spike Jonze won in 2000 for Being John Malkovich, which I'd seen a lot of times by the time he won. Sofia Coppola won for The Virgin Suicides. And then Christopher Nolan is the last winner for Memento in 2002. This was a different time in MTV. But what I really liked about this is being into film in the 90s and the 2000s. You had a way to show that you would be into, like you had a way to see that if you're a filmmaker, it was sort of cool, but also a kind of an avenue to get you into films through the MTV Awards, which I really respected. But the MTV Awards kind of lost their cool after a while, like Sin Rams talked about in his video, as well as like countless other reasons. And, you know, they let like certain movie franchises just win every time and things of that nature. But I think there was kind of a naivete and a kind of almost respect for kind of indie film, which I sort of liked about it. And it kind of shows you how it was different in the 90s and 2000s because you had that kind of window of opportunity that people would be a little more open to it. And sure, like maybe Memento is like the certain end of that kind of thing because that was a hot indie movie that normal people would watch. And there were times like Sin Ram was saying in the chat just now, like how Pulp Fiction won Best Picture. And he even talked about how it was really annoying that Forrest Gump would keep beating him all the time. I believe when he won. And they would pick different stuff. But this was always like the award I would look forward to. And maybe when it went away, I was kind of disappointed. I wish it had continued because I feel like in the 2000s, indie filmmaking could have really used something like this. But I think the difference is it wasn't cool or hip or anything like that anymore, so they sort of took it away. But there was a small time in the 90s where you could hear about Wes Anderson way too early and see Bottle Rocket on home video way before Rushmore and feel like a total Shrek and feel like a total hipster or whatever for knowing it first. But it was always something I really enjoyed, and I just sort of wanted to talk about that tradition and all the filmmakers that they helped make into bigger names through that award. They kind of helped promote those filmmakers, and they definitely helped turn me on to certain movies that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. And I think that's kind of cool. I wish they do stuff like that with TV and movies. Now it's the MTV Movie and TV Awards and do something more with it, but unfortunately they don't. And I can just look back on the past and remember MTV's Best New Filmmaker Award. All right, so and they didn't have nominees. They just gave it to people, to my understanding. I never remember nominees. I couldn't find anything. I don't remember that. So anyway. So let me have a little bit of Red Bull. Since we started late, I'm gonna what was that? Okay. We'll probably end at 12:40, but we'll see. Now I'm going to talk about the pilot, or the original pilot, of the show Rugrats, which is actually called Tommy Pickles and the Great White Thing. Now, this pilot was made in about 1990. It is actually, it was kind of, it's kind of a good amalgamation of what makes season one cool. You get a lot of Tommy just like not talking really. It's just like him doing like funny baby things. He does talk a little to Phil and Lil, but that's about it. And then it gets kind of, he messes with the toilet. He puts too much stuff in it, destroys the bathroom, because he wants to investigate what this toilet thing is, because he sees Grandpa uses it. And it shows the baby's curiosity and stuff like that. What I like about this is it reminds me of the sketchier, weirder style of early Rugrats, which is something I'm a big fan of. But what I think I saw in what I was surprised to find out in this was actually directed by the creator of Aeon Flux, Peter Chung, who also helped design the characters of the Rugrats, which I didn't know until now. And one of the people in the Discord, Kwanzaa, I believe their name is, actually showed me a picture of the design sheets, which will be on this when it's a later video, of Tommy Pickles designed by Peter Chung. And it kind of gives it that kind of weirder style, and no wonder it had this weirder style to be in the beginning, because they'd later redesigned them at a certain point. But Peter Chung had worked on them, and a lot of actually cool animators worked on this. Brad Bird worked on this. That same Discord user said that he did the one shot of the woman on the TV. I'll just take his word for it. David Silverman also animated on this as well. But it really has a nice fluidity to it. It has a nice flow to the whole thing, which I think shows Peter Chung's involvement. Some of the scale makes no sense. Like there's one part where Tommy's like rolling on a ball, and then there's another part where the ball's like significantly bigger than Tommy out of nowhere. Like I don't know. I think they're just sort of being weird. Maybe that's Peter Chung and stuff like that. And it kind of has a cool vibe to it. It does have like Paul Germain helped write it, which, he would be kind of one of the bigger creative writers on Rugrats. You can watch a whole Saber Sparks video that I helped work on, which I'm very proud of, about that whole drama. But it kind of shows you the real promise of season one and what I like about it, because you get like Tommy going on an adventure, him like thinking something's really magical the way a baby would, like playing on that thing. But you also get like what Rugrats could have been, because what you presume are Phil and Lil's parents are designed completely differently than they would on the show. You see them at the table with Dee Dee and Stu and Dee Dee, but you don't really know like who those people are. I'm assuming they're Phil and Lil's parents, but they don't look like how you normally see them. And the logo actually for Rugrats is radically different as well, which I found to be really interesting. And the other interesting thing about this is, despite like this pilot, like I don't remember it airing. Apparently it was released on DVD. The end part was used as Nickelodeon bumpers, because the part where they're watching TV so basically the plot of this, Tommy gets obsessed with this toilet because Grandpa used the toilet, and he's like, what's this weird thing? He tells Phil a little about it. He tries to investigate at night. He makes a big mess of the whole bathroom, clogs the toilet. The grown-ups get in an argument, or he goes to the TV. The grown-ups find out about the bathroom. They get in a big argument. Grandpa, Dee Dee, and Stu. And then Tommy is watching the TV. And although you see images in a rock video and he's dancing to it in the actual pilot, what they do with Nickelodeon is they would take out the rock video, or they superimpose the Nickelodeon logo with it. So instead of the Nickelodeon logo, or instead of that natural thing which I grew up with, you actually see him rocking out to a video or changing channels and stuff like that, which was kind of interesting. So most of you have actually seen parts of this pilot before if you watch 90s Nickelodeon. I like this weirder, sketchier style from Rugrats. I always like that kind of style more. I like the kind of experimental kind of vibe to it, even though it's not actually, it works in the best way kids entertainment does, where it's kind of weirder and stranger, but it also is very straightforward and so forth. And I think Peter Chung did that very well. He did leave working on Rugrats and, did his own thing. I sort of wish we could have seen more of his Rugrats. I don't believe he directed any of season one. I honestly really wish he had. But having a Rugrats episode, which was done by him and Brad Bird and David Silverman and all the regular Rugrats creative team, is kind of like a dream thing. I like never thought there'd be a cartoon like that. Um, oh, sorry, I'm reminded of other things. But they also worked on the Simpsons shorts and the early Simpsons, Classy Shupo and Paul Germain. So that's probably how he got Brad Bird and David Silverman. Some of Peter Chung's choices were weird. Like he has a shot coming from, I think it's Filler Lil's mouth for like no reason. I guess there's like no reason for that shot. Like he also storyboarded it as well. He designed it. He helped design them. He storyboarded it and he directed it. He really helped out Class V Shupo, who do not sound like they were easy people to work with, from my understanding. And some of the short reminds me of sort of Baby Herman-esque stuff, especially when he's messing around in the bathroom. This is an interesting, odd kind of thing, but it makes me really interested in the whole, like what it makes me like interested in what more you could see from this, because this does feel like a cool premise, like Tommy messing around. As ToonJ723 reminds me, that Peter Chung actually animated the opening credits, which that is insane. I didn't really see. This is way more Peter Chung, this pilot, than the opening credits. You almost don't notice he did the opening credits. Peter Chung, I know, does a lot like behind the scenes more than people realize. When they're like, what happened to him for a while? He's like, he does work pretty consistently, actually. But I think this was this was an interesting pilot. It's probably one of my more favorite Rugrats discoveries recently. And even though I did a big Rugrats deep dive when I was working on that Saber Sparks What Ruined Rugrats video, this was kind of a cool surprise because I am more of a fan of the early seasons, and I really do like that style. And to see this go, if you like that weirder, sketchier style of early Rugrats, this is the extreme you kind of want it to go in. And although currently we're going to have a reboot that's going to push it in the exact other direction, artistically at least, in terms of the design and so forth, it's nice to see what Peter Chung and all these really talented animators and a group you'd never see come together again, which is one of the things I really like about that wonderful time in animation where you had all these like amazing creative people who, you know, would all work together and would go off and have these amazing careers. And I think it shows you like the promise of that group and that era, but also like how cool of a concept Rugrats was, even from the pilot, which honestly makes it even weirder and more experimental than I even realized the early seasons were. So I think it shows you like how cool that early era was, and this pilot almost makes it a weirder, cooler, weird short. So, all right. So let's get into questions. I have a few Patreon questions. Austin's is long, so I'm going to get to other people's first, and then I'll do Austin's, and then we'll do questions, and then we'll all go home. All right. Or, well, go to sleep, I guess. Sorry, I feel like I'm very messy today. All right. I feel like I look gross. I hope not too gross. But yeah, anywho, yeah, I don't know. I look kind of gross today. All right, so let's do. Hold on, where are my questions? Where are we at? Okay, so Thanafoga has 3 questions. What would people recognize you in public for? The PP podcast or Pizza Party podcast, Knockforce, or Cletus the Fetus? Not too much Cletus the Fetus. That's ever happened. It's happened to me for the Rough Cuts, which was a collab channel I was involved with a long time ago. It's happened for Knockforce and occasionally Pizza Party podcast. Mostly Pizza Party podcast, my own channel, and Knockforce. Usually those are the ones. It's just like people in this, you know, there's people in New York and stuff. That was kind of pre pandemic kind of stuff. If Alf, Creech, and Paul Blart were all in a room together, who do you believe? What do you believe will happen? I believe they'd have a really wholesome, nice party, and they'd watch Short Circuit. Do you have any old gaming consoles when you were a kid stored somewhere? I don't think I do. I had a Game Boy and I had a Sega Genesis that someone kind of gave me for free in the early 2000s, and I think we threw out the Sega at a certain point because it stopped working, and I don't know what happened. I think we have a Game Boy somewhere, but I forget. I don't. It wasn't the one I grew up with. Sinram said, tomorrow night's MTV Movie and TV Awards. Watch, record for later, or completely ignore. Completely ignore, probably. I'm too old for that shit. I'll look at the winners though. I will look at an article to see the winners. I always do that at least, so I will probably do that. So that I take the fourth option. Okay, Austin. Question for Movie Crap. What an amazing show. Jim, all those great jokes, that amazing intro, and those insightful views into current film news. My question is, if 3 Adult Swim shows getting a movie, why not 12 Ounce Mouse? Here's my idea. We open on Fitz and Shark Guy in the office. The clock is ticking. We talk about nonsense until Shark Guy gives Fitz one final job. We then see Fitz at a bar getting drunk with Golden Joe, Rooster, Eye Guy, and Skillet. Eventually, Peanut Cop, I think it's Stone Peanut Cop, but sorry, not to correct you. Eventually, Peanut Cop busts in, shoot the place, and then we see Fitz pass out, and we see Skillet does a 60-minute drum solo. Various characters pop in, like the hula guy and barkeeper pop in, and the bee, and after the drum solo, the movie goes to credits. That sounds amazing. I would pay $20-$30 for that. I approve of it. Good job, Austin. That was great. All right. Zane Powers has the first question, I believe. How awesome is revenge? It's okay. Does Austin have a question? Does Ace the one right? It just says question? That's confusing. Cornbread asks, with the recent news regarding Star Wars Celebration, my Lucasfilm insider, Lord Gukas, got in contact with me, brought up that there's big Wolfman news coming in Star Wars Celebration 2022. Thoughts? I've heard that as well, and I think you're right. Not plausible. How do you discover what your career passions and aspirations were? I just always really wanted to get into movies and stuff, and I don't know. There's not like I don't have a good answer for that. I would just say you just find both what you can make money at and what your interests are, I guess. Forever Zard, what do you think it will take for America to stop looking at animation as just for kids? I don't think that's as true for the younger set. I just think that's like a boomer thing. I think most people who are 40 and below don't feel that way for the most part. Because look at Rick and Morty and stuff, you know what I mean? And The Simpsons and so much other. Question, with the recent news of Daily Dunkachino extending 1 month, I just want to remind you to submit your edit. Also, thumbnail challenge accepted. I got something special planned for it. Okay. All right. I will figure out the edit. I will try to do that. Major Mekazawa, question, with all the Adult Swim movies having been announced, do you think it's funny that Home Movies never got one? I think Home Movies kind of had a good ending, so I'm a little like kind of okay. Like, I don't necessarily need everything extended just because of it. I mean, if they have a good idea, maybe they talk to them, and maybe that's the second group or something if they do that. So we'll see. Question, hey Jim, when is your every NBC show coming out? Also, I love the May 2020 video. Thank you, my blue Yoshi. I don't know if we'll do a every NBC show anytime soon. We did every NBC Saturday morning show, but I don't know about every NBC show. Maybe at some point, but not. It's not something that's in the cards currently. So sorry. Zane Powers, which of the big studios do you think has the worst corporate setup? I almost want to say Warner's, but I also I kind of don't even want to judge them at this point because coronavirus has made them shake up things, because it's you really don't know right now. I would say what AT&T did to Warner's is one of the worst ones. But I'd actually say Viacom, to be honest with you, I think. Ace the Wind Rider, what's the worst snack for a movie? I think chips or something really crunchy. Yeah, that's probably why they don't offer them. Or does everyone remember the deviled eggs ad where before we had popcorn, people would have deviled eggs? I don't think that's even online. If anyone can find that, I remember that. I would have deviled eggs for me. That sounds delicious. I love deviled eggs. Paige Howers, when will Marvel movie/media success bubble burst? Not gonna lie, I feel like too many Marvel projects coming out, the overabundance of it will. I feel that way too, to be honest. I think there needs to be more of a break, and there really isn't, especially with 4 movies and the TV shows. And I know a lot of people have said hey, it's sort of enough, and we'll see about that. I'm curious how long they can do that for. Have you seen the romantic comedy When in Rome from Austin? No, I have not. Sunspot Mill, do you think the next Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie will cause another incident. No, I don't think they're going to do that again, but we'll see. Maybe they will. Just how corkscrewy do you think Tom Cruise is? Nice to say the fuck. Pretty extremely screwy. Zane Powers, will Katana Wolfman think getting rid of the Golden Globes be lowering the integrity of award shows? No, I think Katana Wolfman wants to burn it down. You ever watch Rome on HBO? Not plausible. Yes, I think I've seen all of it. We have a box set somewhere, or we had a box set. I know we have the DVDs, but my wife and I watched that a long time ago. Should we avoid the Noid? You should always avoid the Noid, but he's not so bad. Zane Powers asks, who's the teacher you had that had a specific viewpoint on the subject that you found completely wrong? Probably most applicable for creative classes. Well, I did have a teacher who kept pushing that global warming wasn't real. But creatively, I had a lot of them who'd push kind of this idea, which I'm personally against. And I'll answer this is a kind of a good question that I very much would answer. Who would really push like kind of like the what is often called like the eat your vegetables kind of way of viewing film, where it's like, well, this film's important and you have to watch this thing. And I had this other good film history teacher called Gene Davis, and he would always play like an off to the center thing to kind of theoretically, it didn't always work for a lot of people, but get you more into film. And I think that was something I really disagreed with and disagree with more, because a lot of those directors, I see their other movies later, and it's like, why for Godard did you play Contempt? Like, everyone plays Contempt, and it's like, play Band of Outsiders or Breathless. Like, then young people would be into Godard, but you play like these really stodgier films, and it's like, I don't hate the movie Contempt, but that's not the movie I want to get into. And that, I've always hated that film thing where it's like, no, you should watch the most difficult one first. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, it's like, oh, you want to get into George Lucas? Like, here's THX 1138. Like, don't show that to anyone first. Like, that's idiotic. Like, it's just like, and it kind of has this whiff of, look how smart I am, rather than, oh, hey, I got someone into Godard. Like, I'd much rather get someone into Godard and have them like Band of Outsiders and Alphaville, and or show them 400 Blows than like show them a pretentious Truffaut. I really hated that shit, and I still hate it, and I just feel like there's better avenues. So I think like kind of stuff like that, I don't, creatively, there's never been anyone I've like totally hated, but that is something like I morally sort of just object to. Like, get people into movies, don't make it hard for people to get into stuff. I don't think that helps the medium at all. Anyway, also it's like, why do you show people Birth of a Nation on the same regard? But whatever. That's a whole, that is a deeper subject matter. Toon J723, which is a better movie, a well-written one with bad acting, or a poorly written movie with good acting? I don't think there's a one and done with that. I would say both could work, but I would say actually a well-written with bad acting is not going to work. Ryan Walterson, who's on first? Well, what's on second? Nathaniel Foga, see any of Patrick H. Willems' new videos yet? I watched the trilogy one today. I have gone more into him. I do think he's interesting. He does kind of just sort of, my main thing, I think I talked about this before, I liked his Coppola video, but his whole thing of doing like, just anytime he can talk about an interesting, like really smart, like big classic, he like avoids it almost. And I feel like that's like such a weakness in his style, because it makes me think like he doesn't have what it takes to like actually talk about those films in a weird way. That's one thing that kind of bugs me about him. Disco Spider, do you think a Howard the Duck series can work if it was more based on somebody's comic? Yes, I do, Disco Spider. I think it could. Nathaniel Foga, would a Knock Force movie be animated or live action? Animated, of course. M Blood T, you think it sucks that in foreign film countries choose the best foreign film category selection for the Oscars are chosen by governments and not by industry that understands cinema? Yes, I do not like that at all. I think that is a bullshit thing, and it's why often major foreign films that are big, even in art houses all over the world, don't get in there, because their countries want to pick something else, and that's really not cool at all. Like, what would be a movie that the U.S. government picks every year? Like, I've actually wondered that. Like, why don't we do that as well? Like, not let it be nominated, but see what. Just a bad way to choose film, to be honest. Anyway. Didn't I answer that my Blue Yoshi? You don't have to keep doing that. Why is Warner still fixated on pushing Game of Thrones after the terrible last season? I think they think it's going to help them, but It's really not. Where are we? Zane Powers. No, that's not Zane. When will film classes stop showing the jazz singer? I didn't know anyone does, but we'll see. I don't. Do they? I know some do. Yeah, they really shouldn't. I agree with that. I think if people want to Zane Powers, they can. But like, watch it if you want to seek it out. You should. But yeah, I don't necessarily. I think you can just show the clip and you'd be fine. Let's see. Do you Zane Powers? Do you see that woke Disneyland political cartoon? Yes, and it was pretty lame. And I guess we'll do Forever's Art and Zane Powers. Then we'll end it at that. Do you think Cartoon Network will make movies of their older series like Adult Swim? It seems like Adult Swim handles their older series better than the Cartoon Network somehow. I do think if these are successful, they'll be more interested in it. I also think like they sort of respect the cult of the Adult Swim stuff more than the cults of the Cartoon Network things. But I could see them doing it at a certain point, but I agree with that. Zane Powers, what do you think Donald Trump would have picked for best foreign film? I don't want to even think about that. Uh, uh, Austin says, do you think Star Wars Giant Rat needs more love? Absolutely. Um, but yeah, all right. I think that's it. I will see you all stream wise at least in 2 weeks. Um, oh, hello, obscure anime guy. Yeah, I will see you all in 2 weeks. I will not be here next Saturday. There will be videos throughout. I think the next video will actually be on Tuesday, and it'll either be. I think I'm gonna do a thing with the Tom Cruise stuff. Um, that's what I think right now. I don't think. Yeah, my hair is like. Should have showered today again when I got home. I think I'm going to do the Tom Cruise thing and also the Rugrats and the MTV Movie Awards thing. So we'll see when those come out, as well as I think I'm doing the Angelina Jolie thing and the winner of the movie review vote. So it'll be a cool week. But, and, I'm going to do the Zack Snyder thing and the Denzel Curry thing and all sorts of stuff. So it's going to be a plethora of cool content as usual. And anyway, you all have a good night. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, anyone who gave a super chat and for your generosity. You all have a good next 2 weeks. I will see you back whenever 2 weeks is. And stay safe out there and subscribe if you would like to. And thank you for watching.